obvious reasons, because we have to be part of the prosecution team now. But believe me, if I could, I would, but sometimes we just can't do it. But we are involved, actively involved, in supporting the Brenham Police Department, the Sheriff's Office here, and also the law enforcement agency in Caldwell. We're just supporting them in a different way than I used to. In the past, with the Rangers, what we did was, when we had a major crime in town or in the county, Rangers would show up and we would ask the chief of police or the sheriff, what can we do to help you? He would respond by saying, we need personnel, we need aircraft, we need canine, we need crime labs, or whatever it may be. And the beauty about coming from where I personally came from is all those people are still one phone call away. And when the chief calls and asks for help, he normally has that within an hour, major help within an hour. During my years working around good leaders such as what we have in our county, I've learned to be a good listener, take good notes, and be a professional lawman. I have no regrets about anything that I've done in my career. If there's anything I could change, I'm not quite sure what that might be. But we have traditionally been supporters of our community in lieu of, or by way of, law enforcement officers in the counties, in the city that we work in. During the course of my career, I have worked hundreds of homicides, hundreds of other crimes associated with that, wrote a few tickets when I was on the highway patrol for 13 years, but I've also undergone about over 4,000 hours of training, from traffic law enforcement all the way to the tail end of capital murder investigation. During the course of my career, we, as Rangers and criminal investigators, not to leave out local law enforcement, but what we have done over the course of years is be involved in major crimes, major newsworthy crimes for whatever reason. Back in my early days, I was part of the Louis murder scene, 1991, where 23 people were murdered. I was also unfortunate as to be within just a few miles from the Mount Carmel disaster in Waco, where over 75 people were killed, including 4 of our federal officers. The last thing I did before I retired, I joined a group of Rangers out of El Dorado, Texas, where we executed a search warrant on the former church of Latter-day Saint fundamentalist compound out there that some of you may be familiar with. The Rangers were charged with executing a search warrant, collecting the evidence, conducting interviews, security of that evidence, and courtroom testimony. Just a few of the things that we have been involved in. We. It's always got to be we. We can do things better together. We can be more effective together. And at the end of the day, if the job's done, it matters none who did it. Just as long as it's done. And we protect our victims. The main thing. Also, during the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to do some of the other things that Rangers traditionally do, other than provide law enforcement assistance. Major type disturbances, whether it be from a hurricane to any type of unnatural disaster, Rangers are typically called in on to either stand behind the scene or direct traffic or whatever it may be. We've had 2 problems in Brenham since I've been here related to hurricanes, and that involved evacuation routes that we commonly have here. And we also have heavy traffic. We're trained as Rangers to do criminal investigative work, but I can promise you that none of us would mind putting on a highway patrol uniform or a city police uniform if we can help our community out. That's just the way we are. Exactly what we did back when we had the major problem with hurricane evacuation here. We stood on Highway 290 for over 16 hours directing traffic, making sure that everyone here and everyone passing through our community was taken care of the best way we knew how. Those problems didn't just stop here. They ran all the way to the Louisiana border. I had phone calls nonstop from people out there asking me, can you find someone to help us take care of some of these people out here in East Texas that are hurting. And as you very well are thinking right now, I picked up the phone and called Paul Cruzy. all dropped everything he could drop, took care of things that we couldn't even imagine that they could possibly take care of with a Bluebell ice cream truck. They did it, and we thank you for that. That's just another example of what some of the weird things that we get involved in. You wouldn't think that a ranger or a criminal investigator would be involved in something of that nature, picking up the phone and calling someone locally and asking for help or going on. But it happened. Thank y'all so much, Bluebell, for that particular assistance. It means a lot to us. Rangers are also responsible for border security. Some of you may know this. The governor has appointed the Texas Ranger Division as the law enforcement agency in charge of our border. We've got 145 rangers in the state, and there's only about 20 of them stationed on the border. That means that the gas station in Nacogdoches, Dallas, or Beaumont will eventually end up on that border with daylight guys in boats working the Rio Grande River. Not sure exactly how that's going to work out. Thus far, we've not hit anyone hurt, but I think that day may be coming. The border is a problem. The Rangers are in charge of it. We've got a lot brighter minds than me trying to figure out how we're going to approach that and deal with it. Because thus far, we haven't answered that question. Rangers are also that's telling me I'm clear. Rangers are also responsible for SWAT team, hostage negotiations, any type of crisis negotiations that go on in the state. Without explaining that, we all know what that is. Several weeks ago, we had a call out over in Burleson County where we had a man in the house with a gun that was shooting at our local law enforcement. Pick up the phone, call one of our Rangers. He's there within 25 minutes. End result was good. Not always good, but this time it was. Another thing that they did. Dignitary protection is some of the things that go on in the Ranger Division nationwide. Right now we have Rangers assigned to Governor Perry, who's traveling the nation running for president. Back in 1999, I was chosen to be part of the Bush Protection Detail, and I traveled nearly every state for a year and a half, most of them more than twice. During that time, another Bluebell story, and I believe we had Bluebell shipped into us, mainly in New Hampshire. Not sure what that was all about. I'm not going to divulge that back then, and I think now we're okay to divulge that. Law enforcement in general, I think we're doing a pretty good job. The only thing that has me concerned is our judicial process. And I know it concerns the chief dearly. He and I talk about this a lot. What can we do to fix the judicial system that we have in place that seems to be supporting our suspects, our defendants, more than our crime victims? We're not sure what we need to do with that. But we feel it's a little lopsided law enforcement. On the other side of that, they feel like it leans toward law enforcement. So we're not quite sure where that is right now, but I believe that we are a little lopsided. That sometimes our crime victims are not getting due credit. And nothing is worse than us being a crime victim or our family being one. And no one taking care of you. No one talking to you. No one trying to fix things for you. One thing the chief and I have in common, again, I keep mentioning the chief because he's not only a good friend, but he's a great investigator and a great manager. We believe that we can all do a better job. And what do we need? What tools do we need to do that? Do we need training? Do we need a bigger applicant pool? What do we need to make that happen? I believe it's leadership. The chief of police here in Brenham and his officers have reduced the crime rate in the city of Brenham almost 30% in 24 months. Leadership, training, professionalism, I'm not sure what is going on there, but that is a fact. And that is not happening anywhere in this nation where you're reducing crime rates by double digits. Is it because of what goes on in the street? Not necessarily. What goes on in the courtroom? Not necessarily. It's a combination of both. We get a strong advocate of taking these criminals off the street when we have a strong system in place in our judicial process, put them in the penitentiary where they belong.